your desires drive your actions drive your results. And so it really all starts with the way that you frame and the way that you think about things. Welcome, guys, to another Real Estate First Friday. My name is Matthew Hodge, Executive Vice President, or Co-EVP. After all these years, I'm still saying a Co-EVP. I'm here joined by my fellow Co-EVP, Luis Fermin. Good morning, brother. How are you?
I am doing well. It's the second week of school, and I've already got in whack with a sickness.
I know.
I walked in, you're like, stay away,
Yeah.
stay clear. I'm going to officially put on my schedule second week of school, like, sick.
Yeah,
It's just always
out of
happens. It
office.
never fails.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Hopefully you kick it quickly. Drink a lot of water, vitamin C, all the things.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to trying to not get sick. Seems like we've held off so far, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, guys, well, we're going to jump in. Today we've got a special guest new to LPT. We'll let him talk through his experience here in a minute. But what I love about this ecosystem that we've kind of been bringing together is that, when Lewis and I and the founding executives first started the company, of course, we had support staff, we had things, but it was mainly just a small group of people, a little mighty bunch of people with an idea to go out there and change the industry and help entrepreneurs succeed at their terms. And that's what really kind of started this. And so since then, you've seen we'd be able to bolt on tremendous talent throughout the organization. Some of the larger hires that you've seen is Michael Valdez, who came over from a competing cloud-based brokerage who runs our, LPT International. Laura Ritter, who is our CFO, our new chief legal officer. Like, so many amazing people have been bolted onto the ecosystem who are pushing and designing and helping with the mission of empowering our agents, allowing them to define success on their own terms, tearing down traditional obstacles that have existed in the industry that said you must do things this way. They are coming in and pouring into the mission of saying we're flipping that around and we're making the brokerage support your version of success, not forcing you to mold to ours. So with that being said, I want to bring in Nick Perrault, who is recently joined us, I believe officially, maybe 2 weeks now?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been about
He'll
2 weeks.
confirm it when he hops on.
Yeah. Let's bring him in. Let him walk us through his experience, why he's excited to be with LPT, and then we'll jump right in.
What's up, Nick? Good morning.
Totally. What's happening, fellas?
Good.
Coming from the West Coast out
Yes,
there.
sir.
It was a fun couple of days out there in Orlando earlier though this week. That was awesome to get to spend some time in person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good to see you in person as always. In our virtual world, majority of our times where we see each other like this, so
That's right.
it's great to get belly to belly.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, thanks for the quick intro. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. I'm excited. This is my first Friday session with all of you. And so, for those that I haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm Nick. As Hodge mentioned, relatively new to the LPT family, but pumped to be a part of it. And I'm excited to be diving in, thinking about tools, offerings that we can help provide and help make agents and teams more successful. So a lot of exciting work ahead for me and the team. But pumped to be here today too. This is a really cool session, cool format, and a topic that I am really, really passionate about. And I'd love to just share a little bit more context, I guess, as we tee up the concept that we're going to be talking about today, if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, feel free. A lot of this times on this podcast, it's a couple of different things that we'll go through. Sometimes it's actionable items, like here are the tactics that you can go immediately to implement inside your business to grow. Sometimes it's like, hey, let's think about how we're approaching the business from a mindset perspective. What are we ultimately trying to to accomplish? So we're kind of all over the map when it comes to that.
Love
so
it.
we cover from mindset down to strategy. So
Love it. Love it.
fits right in with your
Okay.
topic today of mindset.
All right, that's great. Sweet. Yeah, so yeah, before we jump into the topic, just maybe a little more context on me and why I picked this topic. So I've spent most of my career around sales, entrepreneurship, people leadership, and along the way, I've had the opportunity to coach thousands of sales professionals, work with thousands of small business owners, and I started to notice Well, it's pretty interesting that folks may have the same talent, the same tools, same opportunities, but other folks are being a lot more successful than others. So what the heck's going on there? And yeah, over the years, it can be a lot of factors. It's not just one, but I have absolutely noticed that mindset and specifically deploying a growth mindset is one of those factors that really makes a difference to catapult someone's success. And so that's why I felt like what a great, first topic for me to dive into and share. And, to your point around tactics, like I don't want this to be so high level for everybody. Like, we are going to give three very specific tactics, principles that folks can have for a growth mindset. So they all dialed in. They're cruising around or sitting in a conference room or something. I want you guys to be leaning in and actually taking some really good takeaways and actions out of this session. So that's
Awesome.
that's that's where I'm coming from.
Awesome, man. We are definitely looking forward to it. So I guess we'll go ahead and jump right in. One of the main things that we talk about from that perspective of growth and mindset, and then how that leads to the way that you do things is that what you think about ultimately becomes your action, right? Like your desires drive your actions drive your results, and so it really all starts with the way that you frame and the way that you think about things. And so it's exciting when we have people who can say, "Hey, let's think about business." I guess let's analyze how we're thinking about business. Like, are
Yeah,
you really
yeah.
thinking about it the right way? Because if you're not, then you're not going to see the right opportunities or you're not going to make the right result. But as you start to sharpen that skill, then you make different decisions and that ultimately changes your actions and that then ultimately changes your results. So definitely looking forward to
So
that.
as we dive into this topic, I think it's helpful to first start with like, okay, what are we talking about when we say growth mindset? It's a phrase that gets tossed out quite a bit, and it's not something that we just like innately have. It's not, oh, you have it or you don't. This is something that we can absolutely develop. We practice. We can leverage this growth mindset, and that's why it's helpful even in these sessions if we've talked about mindset before or folks have heard about this topic before. It's okay because we just need this constant refresh, and reset to like be thinking about this as a tactic to deploy in our business and be successful. And so you see it on the screen, I think is a really good definition. At its simplest, it's this belief that our skills, our abilities, they're not set in stone. Like this is not a fixed thing for us. We can absolutely develop our abilities through learning and effort and be better through practice, feedback, those types of things. And so I had read a proof point. There's lots of academics about this topic, but I had read a research recently, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but a very quick research that was like they brought 160-ish entrepreneurs into a room, did the same tactical training. Everybody received the same academic training. Took half the group, did mindset training, growth mindset tactics and implementation. You fast forward, that half of the group had 50% more entrepreneurial activities, more action taken to actually go grow their business. And so there's a lot of this stuff out there that proves it, but I thought that was a pretty cool one that landed of like, yeah, this stuff, absolutely can make a difference in your business. So pretty cool. I think when we're talking the definition, it's helpful to talk about the reverse. The flip side of a growth mindset is a fixed mindset. And I know we have all been here, okay? I've probably been here multiple times this week on a fixed mindset. This is the idea of like, no, it's just, it is what it is. Like, I'm not good at this thing. Nope, that's who I am. Can't learn it. Versus growth. Well, how can I get better at this? How
Mhm.
can I learn this function? I'm not good at it yet. Like that is the difference of fixed versus growth. So hopefully that's landing with folks out here in the session that are dialed in.
Yeah.
And I want to get into like the actual tactics though. Again, lean in. There's going to be three. I'm building this up, Hodge. You see this, Lewis? Building up.
I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
The anticipation, get your
Yeah.
pens ready.
It's
There's
like what are the
three.
three tactics?
Yeah,
That's
we're like
right.
we're
That's
ready for
right.
it. Yeah.
He's
Well,
pent up. He's
before we
ready to
jump in,
go.
we'll add just a little bit more
Yeah.
anticipation to that. I like the thought process that you're talking about, which is shifting the way that you talk about your own skill set or the things that you haven't learned yet. Like nobody knows everything, right? We all have
Totally.
gone through. Anybody who knows something went through the same process. They learned it. They didn't know it, and they learned it. Yes, if you're, let's say, LeBron James and you decide to play basketball, your physical attributes make you successful at the sport, not without effort though. Like just because he is physically that person doesn't mean that he's just going to go dominate on the court. He still had to go through and learn the tactics and put in the work and do all the things. And when that mixed with his physical kind of natural ability, you turned into something great. We all have that, right? It's not
Yes.
something that he didn't come out the womb knowing how to play basketball and having the skill, right? We all have to learn those things and invest. And so when you think about life in that way, when you think about entrepreneurship in that way, what do I know that I'm good at? What do I not know quite yet? And how do I become good at that thing? It totally reframes the way that you approach business, because you're not like, oh, I'm not good at it, or I can never learn it. Like that is the thing that's going to hold you stuck. Just understanding that there's things that anybody can learn if you have the interest and you can get the result.
Yeah, yeah, and I love, Nick, how you started off the Zoom by talking about like how you need both, right? You need to have the skill set, but you also need the mindset, which is the focus of today's conversation. And with both of those, we have to be purposeful with that level of growth. We have to dedicate that time to be able to grow both of those, let's call it talents, in order for us to continue that progression. Now, here's what's interesting with mindset is once you start cracking the code with the skill set side of the equation, it will become organic. It'll become more fluent. It'll become like the LeBron James that doesn't think twice before shooting the jump shot. So then where are you focusing mostly on day in and day out is the mindset piece. Like that never goes away.
That's right.
The mindset piece, there's never going to be a world where it just becomes organic. Even LeBron James, you go to the finals, you go to the playoffs, like it's constant mindset. It may not be so much focus on the skills, but there is going to be a lot of focus on mindset. And that's why it's so important in this business to break through all of those glass ceilings that we experience, because looking at this slide here talking about fixed and growth, like your fixed is your glass ceiling.
That's
the
right.
only way you can grow is by breaking through that glass ceiling. I'm not good at this yet. What's the yet? We got to break through, and once we break through, that becomes the new floor moving forward, and then we got to figure out what that next thing is for us to then break through that next thing.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
With no further ado, I think we're
Wow.
ready for
Yes, some tactics, folks.
some
Yes,
tactics.
absolutely. I want to share some very this the meat, the principles and some tactics that we can absolutely deploy in our business. The thing I also want to share though is like growth mindset. It's not to be fluffy. It's not this like overly positive thinking. And I love the final call out on this slide right here. Growth mindset is not positive thinking, it's productive thinking. It's thinking that's going to help our development and for us to go out and learn. So, all right, with that, the first is something that, we hear this phrase quite a bit: control the controllables, right? We control the controllables. Okay, well, how do we actually do that? There's a ton happening in our business, in our industry. We can't control industry or interest rates, inventory, the economy, competition, whatever it is. There's a lot out there of external factors. Okay. Enter this concept of inputs versus outputs. We are very good at setting our goals, our outputs, long term. I want to do X number of closings. I want to make X number of dollars, certain number of listings, whatever it might be. Those goals absolutely matter. We should be setting outputs, setting our goals. But we can't wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to go like close a real estate transaction today. There's a ton that leads up to it, a lot of inputs that lead up to those outputs. And so an input is something that we have 100% control on. I either did it or I didn't do it. And the more inputs that we can do that are tied to that successful output is just going to raise our level and chance of success to accomplish that goal. So focus on the inputs, things that you absolutely can control. This is the point of the session with some homework. You know, we talked about kids going back to school. It's top of mind for me. Homework or a challenge or whatever it is, I'd ask folks on the call, just pause. We'll even give the awkward 10-second silence. You're listening in, pause, think about your business right now. What is one outcome or goal, output, longer term, you've been worried about, you've been frustrated with, you want to make sure you accomplish, and ask yourself, okay, what is one, just commit to one input next week you can actually control that you will get done next week to influence that result. What is one input? So noodle on that, think about it. Lewis, Hodge, maybe you guys even have some examples as well as you think about it of what's an input that folks can do next week to drive the goals they want.
Before we jump into that, like this slide is like just such a realization of like the things on the right side, the outputs, like that's what we all want.
Yeah.
That's what we all desire. The left side is like the tough stuff, the stuff that sucks sometimes, right? That's the sweat equity. And that's the stuff we got to focus on, right? Like to your point, like we always talk about, we want X closings, we want X contracts, we want X clients, but how do we get there, right? You know, we're not in this business. Is very difficult to continue to grow by just sitting back and hoping that those things come into play. Now, granted, it could happen with SOI business. Like you may not have to do a lot of activity, which I would contest that because it still requires some type of activities if you're trying to create SOI that's outside of like mother, father, siblings, like that intimate circle. But yeah, I mean, you need to do the activities. You got to do the tough stuff. You got to put in the sweat equity to produce the results that you ultimately want. And I don't know why when I was looking at this chart, like that was the first thing that hit me. It's like sweat equity, happy, sweat equity. Like,
well, I mean, that's what I used to do. So I actually used to use exactly that formula, which is, okay, what do I have to do to generate conversations? How many conversations do I have to get to then get an appointment? How many appointments do I have to have before I get to a contract? And so then at any moment I could see where I was failing in my bottleneck, you know, like I'm either not having enough activity or I'm not having enough setting enough appointments. And maybe so I was having the conversations, but it was a conversion. So it was a scripting issue. And then, you know, so you can like look through your process to figure out where I was deficient. And so that is super important to me. And I love this exercise. What is the one input that I can control? Like not because I can't necessarily control the outputs, you know.
Yeah,
I can control the left side.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So pick that one thing that you can knock out next week for sure. Second piece. This was an incredible tee up actually in Motivational Monday. I think, Hodge, I think you might have been the one talking about it. Getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay. And this is so true. Growth and comfort rarely coexist. Like growth requires us to do things before we're good at them. And that alone is uncomfortable for us. And so, you know, it could be a number of things. It could be, you know, prospecting, calling old leads, asking for referrals, like learning new technology is a common one. And the tactic to use, we teased it a little bit earlier in the session, but adding the word yet is so powerful. Okay. So as you reflect, hey, yeah, I'm not good with this, not great at that activity yet. You absolutely can grow that ability, learn, develop. And so getting in the practice of adding yet into some of that self-reflection and thinking about what you're good at is, I think, extremely powerful and helpful. And so the activity is if you pause and reflect, you know, just something you know that would help grow your business that you've been avoiding. It's uncomfortable. You don't like doing it. You haven't wanted to do it. Maybe you think you're not good at it. What is something you know can impact your business, but you've just been uncomfortable? And identify one, just one over the next week, uncomfortable action you can take to get you out of that comfort zone and starting to make an impact on your business. So that's the task. We'll pause 20 seconds, reflect, think about it. What is that one uncomfortable action you can dive into in the next week?
Yeah, and this is such an important, piece or skill to develop in that, you know, one thing I would encourage you guys is once we create what that uncomfortable thing is, like use checkpoints to reevaluate that progress because that will then create the inspiration for you to go out there and feel inspired to accomplish that next difficult thing. Like if you're sitting here today saying like, hey, like I'm not good at video, there are things currently you are good at. I can almost guarantee that before you became good at that one thing, you were uncomfortable to do that one thing. So just reflecting back constantly on the things that we've been able to overcome creates that inspiration, that motivation to tell yourself like, I could do it. It feels uncomfortable today, but when I first went to a listing presentation, that was really uncomfortable.
Totally.
Now I do it like if it's normal, like it's normal for me. Like I don't feel uncomfortable doing it. And sometimes that realization gets us off of the hump of like, I don't need to stay stuck being uncomfortable. I could go out there and do it. I know if I apply myself and put my mind towards it, I could succeed in it. But we just sometimes need that, again, inspiration to tell us to get through that piece of it.
Yeah, agreed. Very, very much agree. And we, like you said, we talked about this on Motivational Monday with the aspect of feeling comfortable, or the success that you want is generally on the thing that you don't want to do, the uncomfortable thing, right? Treasure is in the chest that you don't want to open, or behind the we always talk about it. We use all these different analogies, but at the end of the day, it's just basically saying you got to go do the things that you don't want to do. Sometimes you got to do the things that make you uncomfortable, and you're going to get the result that is behind that uncomfortable action.
Yeah. So pick that one thing, challenge yourself next week, something that you can lean into that has been uncomfortable in the past. Third principle, I know we're getting a little bit closer on time, but this just is equally as important. And it's a nice buildup from the other two as well. It's around feedback. I like to connect this to some work that Brene Brown did on blame and accountability. So just as humans, human nature, we try to discharge discomfort and pain. Something goes wrong, we have to look for the explanation. We have to look at whose fault it is. We quickly identify this. Same with the other two. If you haven't already, this absolutely ties into our personal lives as well. Like all these things, I think are good for our business, but also on the personal front. And you can think of plenty of examples of how we did this when something doesn't go our way. It's like, okay, whose fault is it? Hey, the lender screwed up this transaction. My clients didn't pick me because they only were focused on the price and commission, or the market's bad, that's why I missed my month. So we look for those things to help us feel a bit better when there's some discomfort. And that absolutely can be right. Like, there are those causes. And it doesn't mean that we're going to take the blame for everything. That's not what this is talking about. It's just saying, is there something I can learn from it? Before I put faults out, try to explain it through, as other people or as outside factors, can I pause? And I like this framework that's on the slide here for asking the questions of, instead of, whose fault was it? Can we say, okay, what happened? What was within my control? What can I learn? And, what can I change next time? I think is a really, really good framework for us to just pause and self-reflect on certain outcomes that have happened. Doesn't even need to be bad, or something goes wrong. It can just be we concluded an initiative, we concluded something, and we're trying to pause and reflect. Hey, what could I have done better? And I think that is a really, really cool tactic and tool for folks to leverage, get better at their business, again, and in the personal life. So the third piece of homework, final item, should be easy, is just think about something maybe that hasn't gone your way or that just wrapped up, and do some self-reflection. Think about, what you can take away from that feedback. What can you learn and apply moving forward?
Love it, man. I love it, and that's one thing that you know not just one thing. I mean, there's so many different examples of this, but any interaction that you have or anything that you've accomplished, whether you did well at it or not, is an opportunity for you to look back to figure out what can you learn. Hey, maybe I still accomplished my goal. I feel pretty good about it, but could I have done it faster? Could I have gotten an even better result? Like, you always want to be in that position of looking and learning from your results. And that's what keeps you at the forefront. And that's why we say LPT is in a constant state of learning what we're doing well, figuring out what we're not doing great at, figuring out how to continue to double down on the things that are working today. And then that way we always stay at a place where we never get LPT'd, right? Like, we talk about that, like that phrase, meaning that the other cloud-based brokerages got lazy with what they were offering. And we said, hey, we're going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to offer. We're going to continue to stay at the forefront of what entrepreneurship means in real estate so that we never then be, LPT'd. So think about that in your own personal interactions. It doesn't always have to be from something that is not gone well. It can be something that went pretty good, but how can we still get better?
Your business is a machine, right? Like, you have to make sure that you're constantly maintaining that machine in order for the machine to operate. And as with a car, you have your normal schedule oil changes and maintenances, and you can't expect to, just randomly start reflecting on your business. Like, carve out the time, calendar these events, like calendar, the easy ones are the yearly. Quarterly is easy. I would encourage you to do monthly and maybe, every other week, like at a minimum. Like, just reflect back on the things that you've been doing. What are the things that have worked, what have not worked? Don't use blame, use it, as the feedback loop. Like, just, you're constantly wanting to grow and develop. Whether it was something you did well in, which Nick made a good point, like, that's a reflection point as well. Like, totally. I'm sure it was very difficult for you to accomplish that thing that you did well in. Can you now create efficiencies through learning through what you just did well? And then the things maybe that you didn't do well, then how can I get better at it, right? So there's always a way that we can learn and develop, because as entrepreneurs, that's something we need to constantly do, is we got to constantly be pushing that needle forward and then reflecting back, like, have I been pushing the needle forward? Like, where am I at today relative to where I was at 30 days ago, 60 days ago, 90 days ago? Am I better today than I was back then?
So at the beginning, I had said, this isn't for, 20 new tactics or ideas. It's just three things that folks can actually go do, apply this idea of a growth mindset. And what input can you control in the upcoming week? What uncomfortable action can you take over the next week? And is there one piece of feedback, an outcome that you can reanalyze to take any learnings from that? And doing that exercise over the next week, I think, is a really, really awesome activity in action for all of you. So hopefully it was helpful and that you can put this thing into action. And yeah, thanks so much for hanging with me through this and listening to all these different pointers. But this was a fun first session for me.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, we appreciate your contributions already into the ecosystem. We are super excited to have you join us, and definitely looking forward to spending more time with you.
That's
again.
Right, and hope to see everybody at FallCon too. We're gonna have some fun.
That is right. That is right. Yeah, FallCon is where we have the opportunity to get face to face. We look forward to that every single year. Yeah, absolutely. So, thanks for your time today. We appreciate you. You guys have a blessed and prosperous weekend. We will see you this Monday for Motivation Monday. Talk to you soon.